So I stopped off at one of my secret eateries on my way to do this and ran into a famous person, Jon Voight, who's in the new Reagan movie. Alright my friends, it's your old pal Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? I hope you said great. I'm doing great. Today we are at the Reagan Presidential Library because my good friend Todd Fisher has loaned a lot of his Star Wars memorabilia from his sister Carrie Fisher to the museum for a special exhibit. And I wanted to come see it, so he made special arrangements for us to get to see it all. I think you're gonna love this. Now, his mother was Debbie Reynolds, and Debbie had the largest Hollywood collection there was when all the studios started selling everything off. She tried to buy all of it and save it, and did a great job of that. They ended up having to sell some of it, but Todd has kept a large collection and was able to loan some of Carrie's things that we're going to see today. So, Daze with Jordan the Lion. Thank you Todd Fisher, Carrie Fisher, and Debbie Reynolds for all the things we're going to see today. And the exhibit's not here for any political reason. It's just that Todd loved the fact that Ronald Reagan was once the Screen Actors Guild president. He thought this was an appropriate place to share this experience. Great statue of President and First Lady. America's best days are yet to come. Our proudest moments are yet to be. Our most glorious achievements are just ahead. I did see the new movie. It was pretty good. Alright, here's our experience and exhibit. So here they're acknowledging Carrie and Todd Fisher collection, and you start by seeing a handful of posters out here for the movies. And it looks like they have quite a good exhibit. I wasn't sure how big this was. This is our first room, and I've seen this poster many times. This hangs usually in Todd's living room, and it's signed by Carrie right there. Princess Organa, The Empire Strikes Back. Quite a sense of humor. And then over here, this was another Star Wars poster, and she also signed the bottom of this one. And of course, her mother was Debbie Reynolds, and Debbie was a star, so there was some, they say, kind of competitiveness, where Carrie wanted to be, you know, her own star too. I'll read this to us in just a second, but this was supposedly going to be a B movie, and Todd said when Carrie got there and saw like the lo-fi effects and, you know, just that they were going to do it all with special effects and everything, she didn't really have the best reaction. She didn't really think it was going to be anything more than a B movie, so she was kind of depressed, thinking that maybe this was the end of her career. And it's thanks to Todd and Debbie that a lot of this stuff was saved, because Carrie never really cared much about her own memorabilia. She would throw away scripts, and Debbie'd dig them out of the trash and save them. So here's some action figures and things like that. Different action figures from her in the different movies. As Carrie Fisher, the daughter of Hollywood royalty Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher, her brother Todd always felt that their mother's influence during her upbringing and George Lucas's fictional character inspiration collectively led to the creation of Princess Leia that the world knows today. When Carrie was chosen to play Leia, her acting credits were scant. She had performed with her mother on stage in Las Vegas, and then in a supporting role on Broadway in Irene, on stage in London. She had one film credit from a small role in the movie Shampoo. However, George saw her strength and independence, and along with the regal poise that would underscore the character of his Leia. Right from the beginning, George began adding Carrie's persona into his Princess Leia, greatly influencing the character's strengths, dialogue, styling. Arguably, these adjustments led to the characterization of Princess and eventually General Leia, both unintentionally becoming icons of female independence and social change. Later in her real life, Carrie struggled with substance issues brought on by her bipolar disorder. She openly and publicly shared these challenges and wrote her first novel, Postcards from the Edge, which conveyed some of her own life story. It was later turned into a film. She then went on to write 6 novels, several screenplays, and was a script doctor and editor. In fact, one time I saw that her name was at the end of My Girl, and I asked Todd about that, and he said, oh yeah, there were several people in Hollywood, actresses that would want Carrie to write their dialogue for him. And he said, who's in that movie? I said, Jamie Lee Curtis. He said, yep, Jamie Lee was one of them. So Carrie was probably rewriting dialogue for Jamie Lee in that movie. She was, according to her friends and brother, a regular little girl growing up in an irregular household. She was a Girl Scout in her local troop, but was also constantly surrounded by famous people and went to glamorous Hollywood parties. Then she confided in her brother that this little B-movie, space movie, was probably going to ruin her career and she'd never work again. Isn't that something? She said, I could always go back to singing and we could always do the Vegas act together, I guess. Debbie's little Hollywood princess then became the world's Princess Leia. So here's the blaster, or one of the blasters, and some figurines of Carrie. Right here we have Carrie's costume from Irene. It says the posters and costumes are from the revival of the Broadway musical Irene, which starred Debbie Reynolds as the title character. A teenage Carrie Fisher made her acting debut in the chorus as one of the debutantes. Reynolds was nominated for a Tony Award for a leading actress in a musical. Ronald and Nancy Reagan attended one of the performances. And there's a photo after the performance. Now here's Carrie's costume from Irene. And he also provided, as Todd always does, photos that match up. So you can see Carrie wearing it here, as well as right here. How cool is that? That's Debbie's costume, I believe. And here's a photo of Debbie and Carrie on stage. And I know Todd has that sweater that Carrie's wearing because I've seen it at his house. And a poster of Debbie performing, and Carrie also on the poster. And when Debbie decided to retire at South Point Casino, she had Carrie and Todd there up to perform with her last show as well. Here's some Debbie and Carrie home movies. Don't worry, Todd gave me the rights to use all this stuff, so. Of course, Carrie was included in all the Star Wars movies while she was alive. They even had plans for her to be in another Star Wars movie, and she passed away. Here's a photo of Debbie and Carrie and Todd when they were kids. And then here's an award, certificate of recognition. It says presented to Debbie Reynolds, Carrie Fisher, and Todd Fisher. Your selection as the American Film Institute Associates Platinum Circle Award winners for 1998. That's pretty cool. Another figurine of Carrie. Think about that, just having your face on everything when you thought the movie was going to be a total flop. He said when they went to see even just the very first showing of it at Fox, she was chain smoking out in the parking lot, saying like, oh, my career is over. And here's an AFI award. There's Carrie's glasses. And her writing on there. Show canceled. Digest Stars Heavenly Booking. May the force be with you. And you know, we read that, you know, she would talk about her mental health issues. When I met Andre the Giant's daughter, she had a tattoo of Carrie, and I asked her about it, and she said it was because she had a friend who dealt with mental health issues, and Carrie was her hero. And so she had that tattoo in remembrance of her friend. And here we have an accommodation from Governor Pete Wilson to Debbie Reynolds, Carrie Fisher, and Todd Fisher. And then we're going to go into here, and they have some information about George Lucas here, where it says, dreamed of a galaxy long, long time ago. President Ronald Reagan dreamed of a way to defend America. These two things inexplicably became intertwined. So let's go see the exhibit. I mean, Todd has loaned some really cool stuff, so take a look at this. Take your photo here. Here's a wall of all the posters from all over the world. Return of the Jedi. At one point it was Revenge of the Jedi. So as soon as we enter, they have an American Graffiti poster, because that was George Lucas' directorial debut, and it says, once I got into Star Wars, it struck me we had lost all that. A whole generation has grown up without fairy tales. You just don't get them anymore, and that's the best stuff in the world. Adventures in far-off lands. It's fun. So here's Todd's Princess Leia costume. And he was actually there when they filmed a lot of the stuff. He would go and kind of chaperone Carrie, make sure she was doing okay. And he said, you know, the filming of it, he knew it was going to be great, but he said because it was kind of minimalistic props and stuff, she didn't have the highest hopes, but he would try and get like the costumes or anything he could, because he knew it was going to be something special. So this was from A New Hope, 1977. Simple white dress has been a pop culture icon ever since Carrie first wore it on screen in Star Wars. That is definitely one of the hero costumes. How cool is that? I see that, well, until it was moved here, I've seen that in his house every time I've went there. And it actually says Francis Ford Coppola hired George Lucas to work on his new project, The Rain People. Coppola's deal with Warner Brothers included a $3,000 advance for Lucas to write a feature-length script for THX, renamed THX 1138. Though Warner Brothers initially turned down the script, their new leadership signed a 7-picture deal with Coppola. It was filmed in 1969, was edited by Lucas and his wife Marcia, and screened in May of 1970. Warner Brothers was not impressed and had a studio editor recut the film before release. Lucas resented the studio interference. Warner Brothers canceled the contract, and Coppola moved on to direct The Godfather. 1971, Lucas started his own company, Lucasfilm Ltd., with 2 employees, himself and Marcia. She worked on editing jobs while Lucas planned his next move. And this is a printer's proof of the Style C poster before the name and everything was added to it. Then here's the Style B poster. And I love all the stuff that they have around it. You can really get the feel that you're indulged in the movie. Once he had his team in place behind the camera, George Lucas had to find his Luke, Leia, and Han. He paired up actors and filmed their audition. Lucas wanted unknowns who could be seen as the characters rather than themselves. This would have eliminated American Graffiti actor Harrison Ford, but casting director Ford Ruse sneakily brought him in to do carpentry work in the office, and then used him as a reader during the auditions. Final casting was down to the trio of Christopher Walken, Will Seltzer, Terry Nunn, and Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher, the latter of which he chose. Lucas did bring in veteran actor Alec Guinness to play Obi-Wan, who had no interest in sci-fi but signed for double his salary and 2 percentage points of Star Wars. Wow. Says that Lucas filmed in a documentary style, trying to make the film feel as though he was capturing something that really happened in a faraway galaxy. There's the Snowspeeder pilot helmet from Empire Strikes Back. says it was a modified T-47 airspeeder seen in the Battle of Hoth when the rebels took down the AT-AT walkers by wrapping cables around their legs. Similar helmet is seen on Luke Skywalker's tail gunner. Here's the Empire Strikes Back script. This is the 4th draft of the script and was one of Carrie Fisher's personal copies. Not included in the famous quote, "No, I am your father" line. That's not in here. But you see on the side it says Empire. Here's George Lucas's concept sketches for Star Wars.
Thank you for coming. Are you going to be going around to the regular library? Good.
And then look at Darth Vader. Pretty dead on. Alright, here we have a case. And it says Graflex camera to lightsaber. And it's showing how that they made the lightsaber out of that little piece right there. And you can see right there it is. That was the handle of the lightsaber. And they have the actual camera so you can really see how it was all put together.
I had 2 posters when I was growing up on the back of my room. I'm 48. One was President Reagan.
And then check this out.
Those were 2 great ones.
Darth Vader helmet.
Right?
Empire Strikes Back. Darth Vader's ultimate design was a collaboration between George Lucas, Ralph McQuarrie, and costume designer John Mallow. They wanted it to be inspired by a skull, samurai armor, and World War I German helmet. It says Vader didn't wear the mask in earlier drafts of the script. It had minor changes to make it more secure and comfortable for the actor. And there's a signed photo. Then over here we have a replica blaster with Carrie's signature etched onto it. A lot of times people would make things like this and give them to her as gifts, or they would give her the prototypes and stuff like that, and she would give them to Todd. So he ended up with a lot of cool stuff. And then they have another one up here, broom handle Mauser, replica of the real-life German pistol that was the base of the in-universe modified DL-44 model that Han Solo carried in the films. On the entry wall here it says, "My films are closer to amusement park rides than a play or a novel. You get in line for a second ride, George Lucas." And then they actually have it set up to where you can see many different angles of his camera here, his camera setup. George Lucas was the only person to actually invest in filmmaking technology in a serious way. Big studios were too risk averse, but George understood the value of technological change. Let's go see it from over here. So here's more of a face-on view of the cameras used in Star Wars. The original filmed in Europe. That's amazing. Serious piece of history. Vista Cruiser camera, it says right there. And then this is a Technorama camera. Here it says Luke Skywalker stunt lightsaber from Return of the Jedi. In addition to the hero lightsaber seen in close-ups in the actors' hands, less detailed stunt versions of the lightsabers were made of rubber and resin for the actors to jump and fall. Resin casts were also made for display purposes. And here we have Stormtrooper rifle and Stormtrooper helmet. That's pretty awesome. It's from A New Hope, 1977. This helmet was worn by one of the first on-screen Stormtroopers, the one who guarded Princess Leia as she was brought to Darth Vader by a sand trooper. The Stormtrooper helmet design was sculpted for the film by Liz Moore and not based on existing helmets. Their name was inspired by Imperial German Sturmtruppen, and they look like walking skeletons. Only 6 of the original 50 stunt helmets are known to exist. Now this is really cool. I've never even seen this. This doesn't sit out on display at the Fisher house. Carrie's director chair. This was on the set of both Star Wars from 1977 and Empire Strikes Back. And I know Todd said that the way he got it or why he wanted it was because, you know, as a collector, he just thought the European director's chairs were so different than the normal American ones that he wanted it. And then, of course, once he got it, he had all kinds of pictures that he was able to find of Carrie, you know, sitting there. Actually, that one right there, that photo, is Carrie sitting on the floor in her director's chair in the upper left. Or someone's director's chair, to prove that they were the ones from the movie, or from the filming. So he ended up with that, and he was able to get some other stuff, as we see. But he also said because the movie was just an amazing success, after they saw it, he said they saw the screening of it, and everybody in the screener loved it. So then a couple nights later, they went to see it at the Chinese theater, and they said people were camping out in front like the day before, so they knew it was going to be huge. So he said when they filmed the next movie, it was really hard to get anything from anyone. Let's see what we have over here. 20th Century Fox China from 1977. Interesting. It's even got like their logo on it, if I can get in there tight enough. These place settings were used at the Star Wars preview screening. Todd went with Carrie to that as her guest. And that looks like that would have been like an invitation. Here's the Duros head from A New Hope. This cast is from the original mold used to make the mask for the 2 Duros aliens in the Mos Eisley Cantina scene, one of which was wearing a spacesuit previously used in Escape from the Planet of the Apes. The sculpt was done by ILM special effects artist Phil Tippett, while fellow artist John Berg portrayed both aliens at one point, as well as the other Cantina patrons. Here's an Empire Strikes Back poster. And then Yoda. Before Grogu was created, Carrie Fisher added this baby stuffed Yoda to her Yoda figure. Yeah, these were made in a special limited edition, and they sent one to Carrie, and then Todd got one himself. So when Carrie passed, he got Carrie's, and his is now out in his duck pen for his ducks to play around with. Now here we have another statue of Yoda. It says Lawrence E. Noble sculpted a life-size figure for the Yoda Foundation for the Yoda fountain on the Lucasfilm campus. This bronze, a studio cast, was displayed outside Carrie Fisher's home. Also, maybe it was this one that he has outside. That would make more sense. I'm trying to remember. I think it was this one that he has outside. Here's Carrie's ceremonial dress and her medal, which I've never even seen. That's awesome. The battle medal she gets at the end of the movie. That is so freaking cool. So here is Todd's chair from, I believe this was Revenge of the Jedi was what they were calling it. Not sure. That was Todd's. And then here's Carrie's. The saga continues on the side. And I've seen this one around the house, so I have seen this one before. Take a look at these. Rebel Trooper cap. That's awesome. Echo Base of Hoth. some of which were the riders wore tan and white uniforms and caps with ear flaps and optional goggles. Actors wore these on the glacier Finns Norway, which stood in for the ice planet. That's awesome. And then a thank you letter from Mark Hamill with a signed photo on his stationery. And then that is the Luke Force Jump filming model. This model, a modified G.I. Joe action figure, was used in the special effects shot of Luke Skywalker force jumping out of the carbon freezing chamber. That's awesome. And then here we have a Return of the Jedi helmet, Stormtrooper helmet. Large number of the Stormtrooper helmets were needed for Return of the Jedi that were left from the previous films. The newer ones look slightly different than the original versions. They're made of vacuum-formed ABS plastic with decals forming the vents. Oh yeah, I can see that for sure. That was pretty banged up too. Now that is a painting of Slave Leia that someone painted for Carrie. And Todd said he tried to get this costume forever. He tried to get it while they were filming and nobody wanted to give it up. And then for years it was just, you know, in private hands. And then it went up for auction and he was able to get it. So here it is. One of the bras, and look at that. That is so cool. Got her chained up down there. He was actually able, I don't know how many of these they had made for the filming, but that is beyond cool to see. That is so cool. That's iconic. Talk about teenagers' bedrooms. Now that is Princess Leia's actual screen-used blaster from A New Hope, first movie. Her opening scenes, she wields this blaster. She fires on stormtroopers who have invaded her ship. The blaster was given to Fisher by George Lucas. It's the real deal. And then down here is a photo of George Lucas, Carrie Fisher, and Todd Fisher. And then as you can see here, Princess Leia's prototype Skywalker lightsaber from Rise of Skywalker. Variation of Skywalker's lightsaber has Carrie Fisher's autograph etched into the side, which you can kind of see right here. Here are two of Carrie's scripts, and these I believe are the two that I was talking about earlier, where Debbie saw that Carrie had thrown away and took them out of the trash and then had George sign them and leather bound them for her. And then this one they actually opened up to show it to Carrie with much love, George. And here's cardboard cutouts of Luke and Leia, and she signed hers. Take a look at this setup. How cool. It says Carrie often traveled with these C-3PO and R2-D2 droids and would tell her audiences, "I never go anywhere without my droids." Todd Fisher brought the R2-D2 droid out on stage during his eulogy at her memorial. Here are the Legos tributes. Millennium Falcon. And here's showing different artworks that were inspired. The press kit from Return of the Jedi. I'll have to ask Todd about this. I don't know anything about the Hardware Wars. This one is the Hardware Wars 16mm real box, and it says this box still has the Academy Awards address label. It did not win the Academy Award. And then Art Deco Hardware Wars Oh, this must be Hardware Wars.
You've gotten us into.
Where it's like Wizard of Oz mixed with Star Wars. Oh yeah, so that's what we're looking at here. That little guy. And this is Chuchilla, the Wookiee monster puppet from Hardware Wars. Okay, I get it now. I'm gonna have to see this. I've never seen this, never heard of it.
As Luke Starbuck discovers the princess's secret recipe.
And then I believe that's the end of our exhibit because it leads us into Reagan's Star Wars era. And as we come out to the lobby, we've got the TIE Fighter, which does look like a bow tie, doesn't it? Very cool. Fantastic exhibit here, I'm telling you. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you, Todd Fisher, for setting this up for us. Thank you to the Reagan Library for doing such an amazing job laying out the experience, detailing it, telling the stories about everything. This is truly an amazing experience. Do not miss it while it's here. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you next time. Goodbye. And off we go into space.